I spent thousands of dollars on my sister and her dog, yet all I got in return was a place on the floor and stolen money. This is a story of family betrayal and unpleasant revelations that you won't forget. My name is Jennifer. I'm 29 years old. That day, I drove 8 hours to our family gathering. As soon as I arrived, I realized something was wrong the moment I stepped through the door. 8 hours behind the wheel, 2 stops at the gas station, a warm burger on my lap. Finally, I reached my parents' house for what should have been a family reunion. My back was aching, eyelids sunburnt, phone died near exit 92. But I was smiling, I was trying. I always tried. The living room buzzed with laughter. My nieces excitedly tore open early presents. My brother-in-law drank beer, and my parents sat on the couch like royalty watching over it all. And then I saw it. My place at the table was gone. A plush pink dog bed lay there instead. Curled up on it was my sister's toy poodle, Lady Gigi, wearing a sweater probably worth more than my whole trip. No spare chair was even visible. "Oh, you made it!" exclaimed Emily with fake joy. I knew her manner too well. She didn't even stand. "We didn't think you'd come. I texted an hour ago." "My phone died," I replied. "Oh," she said, tapping her screen as if it proved something. Gigi gets anxious when she doesn't have her place. "Hope you don't mind?" I stared at the dog. Gigi blinked at me with big, reproachful eyes, as if she knew what was happening. I forced a smile. "No problem." "Good," Emily replied, turning to her husband. "She's had a tough week. Grooming, flights, she needs routine." I looked around for any kind of chair, folding stool, bar stool, nothing. My father murmured without looking up from his phone. "You can eat on the couch or in the study," as if I was a guest, as if I hadn't spent the past year wiring them money to keep them afloat, as if I hadn't always sat at that table. I said nothing, just nodded, placed my bag by the door, told myself, "It's just for the weekend, you'll manage. Smile, play along, be nice as always." But I should have understood. Missing a chair wasn't the only thing missing here. During the next 2 days, they didn't even try to hide the hierarchy. Emily was the star, the queen, the center of every story. Her dog had a personal Christmas stocking on the mantle. Mine was lost. When I mentioned it, Mom said, "I thought you wouldn't come this year," despite me confirming 3 times. I let it go again until the last evening. My phone buzzed. A message from the bank. 1,800 charged. My heart sank. I opened the app. No mistake. It was a transfer via Z and L to a name I didn't recognize. The memo said, "Thanks for dinner reconnection." I looked across the room. Emily sipped wine by the fireplace. Her husband lounged next to her. She caught my gaze and smiled. "Oh," she said, slightly tilting her head. "Dinner wasn't free, you know that." I clenched my jaw. "You've got a new job," she continued. "We thought you wouldn't mind covering food, wine, banquet service. After all, we're family, right?" She laughed, and then I grabbed my bag, and what I did next left them speechless. I should have foreseen it, but the truth is, when you grow up in a family where love and loyalty are currency, you quickly learn to keep your mouth shut and just pay the bills. And I did it for years. When Emily divorced her first husband, he left, leaving her with debts and a dog with a gluten allergy. Guess who she called for help? "It's just temporary until I can stand on my feet," she said, sniffling into the phone. "You're seriously the only one who supports me." Back then, I believed her. I paid her rent for 2 months, cleared veterinary bills, even got her a job at a posh pet boutique. Irony being, now she earns more than me, yet I somehow was still paying the bills. Emily perfected the art of being both helpless and almighty. She never asked, merely informed. Gigi needs a new stroller. Last year's model is too heavy. What does that mean in our family's language? Buy the stroller or you're a bad sister. My parents were no better. You know how she is, Mom would say when Emily threw a tantrum. She's just sensitive. Maybe you should be a bit more helpful, Dad murmured when I dared say no. I paid their gas bill last winter, bought a new dishwasher, gifted a smart TV for their anniversary. And when my own car broke down, they just said I should have planned better. But if Emily's poodle's grooming appointment got canceled, it was a catastrophe. Everything boiled down to roles. Emily was the golden child, radiant light, and I was the dangerous alternative, emotional mule, designated scapegoat who never complained. I was never the favorite. I was functional. So when the time came for the family reunion, I didn't even hesitate. I'll come, I said. 8 hours driving, burning the last days of paid leave for people who didn't even find me a chair. And now they laughed. Laughed as if all this was normal. As if stealing $1,800 from me was just another cute family quirk. I was breathless, fingers trembling as I looked at the transaction, my thumb hovering over the report fraud button. But something stopped me. Don't make a scene, I heard my mother's voice in my head. It's just money. No, it was my money, my savings, the last thing I saved for myself. They didn't even ask. They just took it. Emily noticed the change on my face. She raised her eyebrows with a look. What's wrong? Are you okay? She asked with fake concern. Or are you about to storm out at this moment? I clenched my jaw. Mom, ever the peacemaker, interjected. Let's not ruin the last evening. Such a wonderful reunion. Just lovely. I slept in the laundry room with no blanket, with a pillow and a dog bed instead of a nightstand. In the morning, I slowly stood up, phone in hand. I walked over to her. Hi, Emily, I said calmly. She looked up. Who gave you access to my bank account? She blinked, then laughed as if I asked a silly question. You once invited me over for dinner for Dad's birthday. You added me to the payees back then and just didn't unhook the card. Relax, you're not poor. Those words slapped me, not because I was poor, but because I was poor enough to be useful, and that's when it all dawned on me. Every small betrayal, every time they didn't repay money, every chore, every favor, every call starting with, I hate to ask, but I was never part of the family. I was a resource. And the most terrifying part was, I let them do this. I need air, I muttered, grabbing my coat. But before I could leave, something stopped me. Emily was scrolling her phone with a satisfied smirk. She turned the screen toward our cousin Danny and giggled. Look, still single, imagine. Well, maybe if she wasn't so serious all the time. Pause. Oh, you didn't hear? Some guy from work dumped her. Tragedy. Danny burst into laughter. My father smirked. Emily glanced at me. Oops. It was clear in her eyes. It was then that I understood. I wasn't just a mule, I was a joke. I returned to the room and cleared my throat. Since we're all laughing, maybe I'll tell a joke too. The room froze. Everyone turned around. I started evenly. A girl drives 8 hours to see her family. She's the only one not flying. Brings gifts, pays for dinner, sleeps in the laundry room. Mom's face twitched. And when she arrives, her place is already taken by a dog. She doesn't complain, and then they steal $1,800 from her bank account without asking. I turned to Emily, and then the joke calls her a loser. No one laughed. I nodded. Funny, right? Silence. Dad shifted awkwardly. Let's not. We will, I said, already in a different voice, sharper. Because I did everything for this family, and in return I got just a dog mat and a spit in the soul. Emily rolled her eyes. Oh God, it's not that deep. No, I snapped. It's deeper. Because for the past 5 years, I've been paying your rent, your vet bills, your orders. You treat me like a walking ATM without an emotional withdrawal limit. Mom jumped up worried. Please keep it down. Why? I asked. So we don't wake Gigi? Someone snickered in the corner. Emily's face flushed. You're exaggerating. No, I said. I've underestimated, but no longer. I held up the phone. You have 1 hour to return the money. If it's not there before I cross the state line, I'm filing fraud charges. Her eyes widened. You wouldn't dare. She jumped, shaking with anger. You're crazy. And what are you even going to do? Run away? I smiled coldly. No, I'm freeing myself. That night I didn't sleep. I lay on the hard cot in the laundry room, staring at the ceiling at the trembling fan, and remembered all the yeses that should have been nos. Every money transfer followed by silence. Every time I let them lower me and pretended everything was fine. Every humiliation masked by the sauce of family. Every time. And that damn poodle. At dawn, the decision was made. I packed up. Every charger, every sock, every crumb of dignity I had left. Slung the bag over my shoulder and headed to the kitchen. Emily stood at the coffee machine with a cup of oat latte as if nothing happened. You're really dramatizing, she said without looking up. No, I replied calmly. I'm almost finished. Finally, she turned to me. You're still upset about the dinner money? Seriously, it was a group decision. Dad said it's fine. I turned around. Dad sat at the table, peeling a banana as if it was an act of diplomacy. I didn't say that, he mumbled. Emily sharply. You did. You said she wouldn't mind. She always pays. I turned to Dad. You said that? He shrugged. We just thought. Thought. My voice got louder. Thought I'd do what I always do. Just smile and pay everything like the nice little fool I've always been. Don't say that, Mom tried to intervene from behind. We just wanted a nice family weekend. You mean on my money you wanted a nice family weekend? I snapped. Because let's not pretend it ever had anything to do with family. I'm not your daughter. I'm your credit card. That's not true, Dad said sharply, standing up. Really? I pointed at Emily. Tell me then, when was the last time any of you called me just to meet up, not to take advantage of my silence? I stepped into the center of the room and dropped the bag to the floor. I checked my bank statements last night. Do you know how much I've spent on you in the past 2 years? No one answered. $23,411, I said, for my mom's stifling kindness. Emily smirked. You're exaggerating. I pulled out the phone. Vet bills, rent payments, Uber rides. Then, when you needed to pay off the credit card because you accidentally bought a new iPad, remember how you just vanished? It's none of your business, she muttered. It is my business, I snapped. Because I paid for it. My voice thundered through the house. Emily's husband finally came out from the other room holding a cup of coffee like a shield. All right, maybe it's a bit overboard, he mumbled. Let's all calm down a bit. No, I said, approaching the table. This time I won't calm down. I turned to my parents. You've treated me like someone insignificant most of my life. Emily throws tantrums, and you call it passion. I speak, and you call me difficult. It's not fair, Mom whispered. I coldly smirked. Really? You said last year that Emily's work at the pet shop is more respected than mine because at least she deals with clients face to face, as if my work in tech isn't a real job. Well, you sit at a screen all day, Dad muttered. I stared at him stunned. I bought you a new laptop last Christmas so you could call your friends. They were silent. I took a deep breath. It ends today. Emily's voice became sharp. Don't be so dramatic. If you didn't want to pay, you could have just said no. You're right, I said, taking a step forward. So here's a no. No more help, no more gifts, no more dinner bills, poodle sweaters, or secret Zelle transactions. I've removed you all from my banking apps, from joint accounts, from my passwords. Emily opened her mouth, but I interrupted her. I canceled the $1,800 charge. Already marked it as fraud. If you try again, let the bank investigate. Let them call you. Let them see what you did. Her face turned pale. You can't. I can, I said with a light smile. I already did. Mom stepped toward me, voice trembling. But what about family? I met her gaze. Family doesn't treat you like furniture, I said, and doesn't expect you to fund their vacation while you sleep on the floor. You chose a dog's comfort over your own children. Let that sink in. Then I turned to my sister. As for you, you're not golden. You're just loud. Something resembling shock appeared on Emily's face, and perhaps for the first time she was lost for words. I grabbed my bag. My dad mumbled, "Where are you going?" "Where I'm truly wanted," I replied and walked out the door. When I stepped into the morning light, my phone buzzed. A new message from Aunt Jennifer, my mother's sister, just as much of a black sheep as I always on the sidelines, always separate. Heard what happened. I've got you covered. Dinner's at my place today. Come. I looked at that message for the first time in years and smiled genuinely, without pretense. I didn't get in the car immediately. I stayed on the lawn in front of the house. The cold seeped through my coat, but I didn't move, looking at the house where I had just shattered 5 years of silence. But even that wasn't enough. They needed one final message, the one that couldn't be ignored, twisted, or erased. I turned, climbed the porch, knocked once, and opened the door myself. They were all there, still stunned. Emily clinging to Mom, muttering something about me being ungrateful and unstable. Her voice stuck in her throat when she saw me entering again. "What now?" She smirked. "Forgot to tuck your tail?" "No," I said. "I forgot to give you a gift." I dropped my duffel bag on the living room floor, slowly unzipping it as if I were opening a coffin from the inside. I pulled out a black folder full of printed documents. "What is this?" my father asked wearily. "Evidence," I said. "But don't worry, I'm not here to argue, just to show you who I am." I laid out the papers on the coffee table like a military map. Bank statements, transfer screenshots, a calendar of payment notes, letters from Emily requesting money, a breakdown of every dollar sent itemized like an invoice. Then I took out the final USB drive and tossed it onto the table. "This is for taxes, in case anyone thinks I won't follow through." Dad jumped up. "Are you threatening us with taxes?" "No," I calmly replied. "I'm protecting myself. Because starting today, I'll never pay for anything carrying this family name again." Then, as my final act, I reached into the bag and pulled out a frame. Inside was a photo from last year's family reunion, me standing at the back, cropped at the edge, holding a tray of drinks. I turned the frame over. Attached was a printed check for $1, made out to Emily Carter with the memo, "Payment for all the gratitude I've ever received." I tossed it on the floor. "Wanted something? Here, take it." Emily froze, her face pale, her jaw clenched, silent. No one said a word. "I spent years in silence," I said. "But the truth is, I was never silent. You just never listened." I turned to the door. "Now you'll never hear from me," and I left. Forever. I got into the car, started it, and my phone buzzed. A new message from Emily. "You're dead to us." Period. I smiled, deleted the conversation thread, and drove straight to Aunt Jennifer's house. She met me at the door with a grin, a plate of food, and not a single question. Just 5 words that made it all worthwhile. You're not crazy. They are. People love to talk about freedom as a metaphor, an attitude, some kind of atmosphere, an abstract state of peace and detachment. But it's not. Freedom is a specific moment, the moment when you leave and don't look back. True freedom is the moment when you delete the family group chat and feel no guilt about it. That evening, Aunt Jennifer hosted the first real family dinner in years. No tension, no forced smiles. No one stared at my plate. No one made jokes about me still being single. Just a warm casserole, a crappy show on Netflix in the background, and her cat Marvin, who seemed to love me more than Gigi ever did. I collapsed on her couch without shame. The blanket was scratchy, the pillow flat, but it was paradise because no one in this house wanted anything from me. The next morning, I woke up different, as if something had returned to its rightful place inside me. Something that had been bent and twisted for so long, I'd forgotten what it was like to stand straight. I had coffee, opened my laptop, and began unsubscribing from everything. The auto pay for my parents' mobile plan, the cloud subscription Emily used for Gigi's surveillance camera, the shared Amazon Prime account I sponsored for 5 people who essentially thought I was a joke. With each click, I severed ties without tears, just cleanly. Then the calls began. First, Mom, a missed call, then Dad, blocked. Emily tried to reach out via FaceTime. I laughed out loud. She left a voicemail, a long, tearful absurdity. You've destroyed this family. I hope you're proud of yourself. Do you even understand what you've done to Mom? Yes, I do. I made her responsible for her own mess. Then came the message from Cousin Danny, the one who laughed at me over Gigi's sweater. It was wild. They're all spun. Dad says, "You've gone crazy." I replied with a single word, "Good." Period. That same day, a message arrived from the bank. The fraud claim has been closed, money returned, access for Emily revoked, her account flagged. And then a second letter. Legal documentation available for your transfer records. If she tries again, she'll face real charges. I saved the copy in my email, made backups on 3 flash drives, labeled the folder as Never. A week passed, then 2, then 3. Silence. Not even a passive-aggressive birthday message, as if I'd been erased. And strangely enough, it was the best gift I'd ever received. I began cooking for myself, actually tasting food rather than stuffing fast food during sprints between calls from Mom. I reconnected with old friends, saying yes to drink invitations, saying no to guilt. I started sleeping 8 hours solid for the first time in a decade. I even began dating again because, surprise, surprise, it turned out I wasn't the incompetent, socially backward troll my sister always assumed I was. Turns out, men actually like women with boundaries, women who know their worth. And then, one day, my phone flashed a name I hadn't seen in ages. Kelly, my brother-in-law's wife, quiet, modest, nearly invisible. Hey, just wanted to let you know. I left Jacob. You were right. He did a lot wrong. I'm done cleaning up after him. I stared at the screen, stunned. Then another message. And thank you for everything you did for the kids. They'll never know, but I will. Those 2 short messages meant more than any contrived family Christmas I'd ever experienced. Last week, I was at a friend's gathering. Nothing special. Miscellaneous chairs, too much wine, and people who didn't care how many promotions I'd had, or if I remembered to bring pie, and for the first time, I told the whole story. About the dog bed, the stolen money, the black folder with receipts, the check for $1. The room fell silent, and then someone said, "You're the protagonist." I laughed so hard I cried. Because yes, I finally became not the background, not the silent helper, not the girl standing in the corner holding a tray of drinks while the sister's dog ate steak off a porcelain plate. I became the girl who walked away and didn't look back. The morale: if you're reading this and thinking, is it too late to say no to those who love me only when I'm useful? Let me clarify. It's not too late. Never too late. Just make sure when you leave, you slam the door loud enough for them to feel it. Did you like the story? Write your opinion in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next interesting story. See you tomorrow.